I hope everybody's had a good week this week. So, if you see all this glare on my glasses, I am trying to do something different with the lighting to try to keep the camera in focus. And so, just going to be experimenting probably the next 2 or 3 different lives with all of that. But first of all, I just want to say thank you for joining me this morning, either now or on the replay. I know that you could be spending your time other places. I appreciate that you come to get ideas, tips, and tricks on how to do quilting. And I hope that I encourage you to make something beautiful for either a family member or to decorate your home or to give away. As I've said before, I give away practically everything I make. There's very few things that I've made for myself. So I didn't put any snips or pictures on the community tab yesterday when I posted that we were going to have Quilts and Coffee Live today because I wanted to kind of leave this as something that would come up, where you could really see the difference on the show. So what I had been working on this week was a fence rail quilt. A fence rail quilt is really easy to do. It's really good for a beginner. Good morning, Michelle. I'm trying to work on my lighting so that my camera doesn't cut out as much. It may not be doing a great job at that, but I'm trying. So, so I've been doing a fence rail quilt, and I had already done a fence rail quilt before on one of the lives and had shown you. And it was a project that I had not sewn correctly and really wanted to kind of keep it in the theme that I had, and I corrected it. So I'm going to show you the quilt that I've been working on this week, and I'm going to show you the quilt that I already had finished. It's the same quilt pattern for the quilt top, but the colors and the color placement makes all the difference in the world. So what I had been working on, I had shown in a few Quilt and Coffee lives a few weeks ago or last week, I forgot which one, some fabric that I had was fat quarters, and that it had all these nice kind of prairie calico prints to it that I had been wanting to do something. So I cut those up into 2.5-inch strips by the 22 long, so that I could have the same as a half a strip of a jelly roll. So I cut enough to have 2 strips as if I had a jelly roll, and then I started making my quilt top. And I love this fabric, but it frays really, really bad. But I'm going to show you some of the blocks that I made out of that fabric. And then I'm going to show you, I have a good little bit of it finished. I wasn't able to finish it all. And then there's the quilt blocks that it makes. And then, so this makes like a half of a width of fabric strip when you sew 3 of those together. So I had sewn 3 of those together. On a fence rail block, you can do 3 or you can do 4. It's just up to you what you want to do. So on all of them, I put darker values on the outside and a lighter value in the middle. Even though this is more of a medium tone, I had still tried to do that with all of them. And I cut them up into the squares, which, you sew 3 2.5-inch strips together, you should have 6.5 inches or real close, depending on how you're doing your sewing. And then I sewed them together in sets like this. So fence rail block is a real easy quilt, and it's kind of basic, and it's real easy to do for a beginner. So I am going to show you how much of the quilt that I have done. And as always, I have to scoot out of the way just a minute so that I can show you what I have. So this is what I have so far. And this is totally random. This is no color placement. I'm just making it scrappy. So when you make it scrappy, it's going to look like this. But I'm going to show you the quilt that I had done before and showed a review about. And let me put this over here. While I'm up, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And so this is the same pattern of the quilt, but it is done where I have the same colors in the same location on every block. And I'm going to show you how different that makes it. And you could also do this scrappy and then have one block that's the same. One strip that's the same on every block. So this makes it totally different looking when you're finished. And so that is what I was getting at. Yes, no planning required. Yes, try to make it simple for you. Make this as enjoyable as you would like. But that was one of my in the beginning quilts, so I was not into making it simple for myself. And but the color placement can make all the difference if you're wanting to make something that is a little bit more put together and not so scrappy. But I'm going to say, the scrappy is really more traditional, and it's perfectly fine how you want to do this. My husband's been finding some things on Facebook, and it's a lady, and she's talking about how some people don't like her quilts. Quilting to me is an art form. It's like you go to an art gallery. There's all different kinds. There's all different things. Just like the quilts that I just shown you. One of them is more traditional and scrappy, and one of them is more bright and structured. And it is your canvas to do how you would like. It is your design. And we're making those usually for families, because there's only so much quilting you can do for yourself. And it's usually for other people that you do this for. And quilting has generally been a labor of love in the past. And so don't be, like, however you want to do your quilt, then don't be, so mindful of the criticism that you might get from others. A lot of times people don't realize the work that you're doing and how much time and effort you're putting into it. So, don't let that bother you. And so I was just wanting to show you that about colors and color placement. And have fun with it. Have fun with your quilt tops. I'll enjoy making the quilt tops. I haven't really got into the quilting part because I don't have a machine that I can really get some quilting done without it being a major stress on my shoulders and my neck. And I'm trying to work on that, but we've got some other things that are much more important right now. And so, but I do the best I can with my quilting. But you know what? There are no quilting police. You don't get your points right, you don't do your quilting to perfection, or multiple hours on your quilting per block, there are no quilting police that are going to come get you. I had to learn that one time. I was doing a needlepoint, Thomas Kincaid lighthouse, and I'm sitting there and I'm counting how many little stitches I'm supposed to have in blue, and then how many, and I sit there and I finally go, look, Thomas Kincaid is not going to come and tell me I put too many stitches in there. I know Thomas Kincaid I'm sorry, that might not have been very nice how I said that. Please forgive me. Thomas Kincaid, I think, has passed away. But what I'm saying is no one's going to come and police, even if you've done one of those. They're not going to go, there's supposed to be 3 stitches right there, and she's put 5. Same thing with your quilting. I know we want to provide something that we care about, and we want to be mindful of the work that we do. But some of these points are not right on my quilt that I just did this week because it's not coming out right. Yes, exactly. Make what you like. This is also for you. This is not just for everybody else. This is for you to have an outlet of creativity. There is nothing wrong with you wanting to be creative. and kind of getting your mind off of life every now and then. We need that to ground us. You know, my little coffee cup says sewing makes me sane. And there's some truth to that, or I wouldn't have got it. you know, especially when I worked in a more stressful job, they'd go like, Cindy, what do you do when you go home? I go home and sew. And they go like, that's a pitiful life. I go, I know, it's wonderful. I can just do sewing. I can be, you know, I could do something I enjoy. They didn't understand. I could do something I enjoy and make something for other people. It's not just helping them, it's helping me to kind of unwind my mind to and then being creative. Some of us love being creative, and we love seeing how things turn out that are just made, and are amazed by what we can do, because sometimes life has left us a little short on the self-confidence thing. We don't add up to a lot of different things in life, and that's fine. You're not going to be good at everything, but sometimes we need something that we are good at so that we can kind of build our self-confidence in. Sewing quilts is very forgiving. It's still gorgeous even if the points aren't right. It is still gorgeous if the pressing is not right. I'm sorry, there are no pressing police. There are no quilt police. There's some people that are die hard on the rules, and I get about the pressing. It makes it easier for the quilting. I get that. There are certain things that you can do to help yourself out. But in the end, there's nobody going to stand over you and say, you didn't press that right. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. But it's a work of art that you give to somebody, and you are giving of yourself. So don't be so hard on yourself when you're doing quilting. And especially if you're starting out, if you're a beginner, you are usually very, very hard on yourself. You critique yourself much more than probably anybody else does. So, cut yourself a break, give yourself some slack. You're in a learning process. And even if you've been doing this for years, you may still be in a learning process because you may be trying to tackle a pattern that's a little bit more difficult than what you've been doing. I try to do things that are, nice, but not very elaborate, but they still look very good and like you've spent a lot of time on them and more than what you have. Because I want you to be productive in what you do, because sometimes we feel so unproductive in this world. So that is what I had about color placement and fabric lines and color types on that. So kind of like my tip this week is thread. Okay, you can go to your craft store and get a thing of this that's cotton, and you can pay about $5 or less if you get it on sale. That's good if you're a beginner and you need something. But all honesty, the high quality thread is really what's best for your machine. It's really best. It may seem like it doesn't go as far because, okay, I paid less for this than I paid for this, but it's going to be better on your machine. And I do donations, but I'm noticing that I'm getting a lot of lint when I use this in my machine, on my needle, on the pressure foot, on my sewing table that I have the little platform, everywhere. So then it's getting in my machine and it's causing some issues. So to help the life of your machine, good quality thread is really what you need to do. I can understand you're starting out and you're kind of shoestring budget and start with this, but you need to graduate up to this so that when you finally get that good machine instead of that starter machine, then you need to get this so that you help with the life of your machine. And so then the next thing I'm going to kind of talk about is kind of what's in the works. So I had shown this Tucci fabric that I've had for a long time, that I had already took the grays and the creams and whites out of that. I have I am almost to the point of deciding to do a large half square triangle quilt with that, and to add this navy batik to it. Let me get that back there. And do a half square triangle quilt. So I've kind of decided to do that. I'm just trying to get the nerve up to do that. Um, and want to remind you, Earth Day is towards the end of April. It's about the 22nd, I think. And so be sure that you're working on your scraps and reusing some things that you have. So we're probably going to have something, do a little bit more on those little scrappy blocks that I've been working on towards the end of the month. So I'm planning on having another live next week. I know this one's kind of been a little bit shorter, but you know, we're getting close to spring. You may be having beautiful weather. I hope you do. I hope it's not cold where you're at. Um, I hope that you have enjoyed today. I'm sorry about my camera quality. I'm trying to adjust that with lights and everything, but you know, I'm working on that. But I hope this has inspired you to make something beautiful and shown you how this is this is your art, and how you can create something that's beautiful for you to give away to family or as charity gifts. And I hope this has sparked creativity in you today. I hope you have a great week. Hope to see you next week. I'm planning on having a live next week. So have a great day. Thank you for spending time here, and I appreciate everything you, all the likes, subscribes, comments, and I just appreciate everything that y'all have said in your comments. And I will see y'all next week.